FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark. And we reached out to you, the listeners, and we asked which bands you would like us to interview in the month of April. And you decided you wanted to hear more from the band Ignite the Fire out of Maryland. And so we've done that. We've reached out to Caelen and Jack. They're on the phone right now, and the guys, I believe, are in Maryland, socially distancing, doing your quarantine, right? How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. How are you?
How about you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm socially distanced from all of my coworkers here, too, so everything's going well. And I'll bring in Caelen right away to start off this interview. You and I actually had a chance, and Jack, too, along with Holly, talk about 3 years ago about the band. I know lots has changed in the last 3 years with the band and things going on, but let's talk about currently what's going on in the world. Of course, with the pandemic, the COVID-19 going on, how are you guys handling it? And Caelen, how are things going for you, and how are you guys handling this?
I mean, honestly, with COVID-19, it's been a real shock. I mean, it's crazy to think that in early March, as a band, we were in the studio, we were holding practices, getting ready for shows, and then all of a sudden it was, we have to stay home. We had to social distance. We couldn't be around each other. And as a band, that is as tight as ours. We meet up every 2 weeks, twice a day, every week for practice. And then, all of a sudden, for that to go away, it's like, we all miss each other. And it's been a bit of an adjustment. We still talk to each other. We're looking forward to when we can get back together. But, right now we know that for our safety and the safety of our families, we need to just stay put.
Jack, let me ask you the question about that, too. And with the music industry, I mean, everything has changed. What have you noticed right now that's really changed with the music industry? Obviously, you guys can't be together, but what's one thing that you've noticed, I guess, here in the last month or so of a change in the music industry?
So, well, for the music industry itself, I mean, it's not going to change that much because most of the world-known artists are still going to make their money with iTunes sales and Spotify sales. But if you're a band like us, you don't make any money from streams. You don't really make money from anything. You can't really support yourself other than what you sell at live shows. And since we're not allowed to have live shows, we're basically, our way of life, our lifestyle, and our living is basically kaput. It's gone. And so what we as a band are trying to do is to try to reach out to as many people as possible and being like, this is what we want to do with our life. It's not just a hobby. It's not just something that we all just sit around in our basement and do. This is our life. This is our lifestyle. And to have it go away is really shocking and really difficult. I'll tell you what, this really lit a fire under me because once I get my stimulus check, which I really hope I do get, it's still up in the air if we actually get it, but once I do, I'm investing in turning my my basement into my own home studio, so that if something like this ever happens again, I'll be able to record my own stuff from home and just send it to the studio where it can get mixed. So that's what I've been doing.
I was going to just say that if this pandemic would have happened, say, 20, 30 years ago, we don't have the technology like we do today, so people can actually still work from home. But like you were saying, you guys are a younger band, maybe don't have all that stuff yet. Is it tough for you guys because you're not the big bands that have their own studios, so they can, okay, I'm going to work on the drum part, I'm going to work on the vocal part, I'm going to work on, the guitar part. We can put it together and we can still make a song even though we're not together. Is that difficult?
Oh,
I mean, I would say it is because, again, most of these, most of the national touring bands, that they're able to record from home and put it all together. Some of the bands, especially, I guess, on the lower level side, we actually have to meet up, in a remote location and record together. And with all of this going on, it does make it difficult for all of us to come together because, we were in the midst of working on our new CD. And we had to have a serious discussion. It's like, we couldn't meet up. We could continue recording this, but, we're putting, each one of us for the potential of possibly, catching the virus. We also didn't want to put, our producer at risk, and we had to come together, have a serious discussion, and say, hey, maybe it's best right now that we just, take a break. Some bands, with the remote location of recording, they can send it off to a producer and say, hey, this is what I recorded, let's mix this together. And, we don't really have the luxury of doing that right now. But I definitely see, you already see bands doing that. And I definitely see bands moving forward are definitely going to start doing, a lot more bands are going to start doing that, where it's going to be like, I can record my part separately. And it's going to be interesting how that affects the writing process, So, I think we're going to see a lot of change come from this. Some of it's going to be good, a lot of it's going to be different. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the landscape changes.
Yeah, I think you, and obviously I had a chance last week to talk to, I don't know if you know Damian Drake, he's with the band Another Day's Armor. He was in New York, okay? So I got the full picture of, he is in New York where the huge epicenter of this is going on, telling me it was just a weird, eerie feeling. I kind of asked him, was it kind of like 9/11? He said, no, not at all, because 9/11, happened, and then people eventually gathered together again. This is totally different where nobody's gathering in that. I want to ask you, Jack, you guys are in Maryland. What is it like right now in Maryland? Because we're here in Minnesota. We're in central Minnesota. People are kind of spread out, so we're not necessarily in a metropolitan area. I think you guys are in a smaller town, but what is it like, I guess, in Maryland right now?
Well, I have been trying to stay home as much as possible, so I can't give you maybe an accurate answer, but I can tell you that pretty much, nothing really has changed in terms of population. People still go out and get what they need. The only thing that's really made a difference is the times at which stores close nowadays. Like all the 24-hour Walmart centers and Giant centers and shopping centers all are required to close at 8 o'clock. But people still go out and shop, and they still wear masks. Most of the time, the masks that they wear do really virtually nothing because they're not really like respirators or the kind of masks that are good for this kind of thing. But the fact that they're doing something is I suppose, tolerable. But pretty much for the most part, no one's really acting any differently. They're still just kind of living life as much as they would and trying to stock up. The only thing I don't understand is, all the memes about toilet paper being gone. It's true, and I hate the fact that that's true. I don't like using coffee filters to be clean. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Well, haven't got to that yet, but I never thought about that. Does that plug up the toilet or not?
No.
Okay.
Thankfully, but still, it's not very comfortable.
It's hard to believe what's going on. Nobody has ever had to deal with this before, so we're all new at this. So it'll be something that we'll be able to tell our grandkids, great-grandkids back down the road. But it depends on kind of your mindset. And how you're going to get through it, And I'm kind of curious, since you guys were talking about, obviously, the way you guys make money is going out and doing shows. Have you guys had to resort to other avenues now of maybe getting a job or something like that? I'm not saying maybe you guys have side jobs too, but doing something else to somehow supplement yourself?
Well, so I would say the biggest thing is right now, with the pandemic, is some of us have lost our jobs. Some of us have lost our side jobs, our daily jobs, and because of that, we've kind of really had to hunker down and think about, what's the best way to, stay financially stable. Luckily for the band, the money that comes in for the band stays with the band. But there has been a halt because we're not doing live shows, and we do make money off of digital distribution, albeit it's not a tremendous amount. Like Jack said, our income comes from selling merchandise at shows, and I've seen a lot of bands they've resorted to doing online, merch sales online, which we do as well, but they're doing it for discounted prices. Well, now you're having a hard time being able to go to the post office. They have shorter hours, and it's all about we could sell merch online, which we are doing, but when are we going to get the packages out? Because we have to go to the store and go into the post office because office could potentially put you at risk. It's if anything, right now it's a time for bands to think of creative avenues for which they can make money. I know crowdfunding gets a bad rap, So it's thinking about how do you go about accruing income without begging. And I think a lot of bands need to learn how to do that. And, you have stuff like Patreon where you can create like fan-tailored content. And we've certainly looked at going down that route where we can create content that, we can give to fans that, if you basically pay a price, you'll be able to, check out some exclusive content that's not going to be made available to everyone else. And the barrier of entry will be, small. We're not going to ask for a lot of money, but it's just a way of saying, hey, if you want to keep us running as a band, money keeps us running.
Right.
Obviously we love the fan support, but through that support, you can help us in the long run. And I think a lot of bands are going to start looking down that avenue. Some already have.
Yeah. We're talking with Caelen. We're talking with Jack for the band Ignite the Fire. And, Caelen mentioned a losing job. Let me ask you this, Jack. Do you think some bands will basically break up because there will be no more money there? Or do you think they'll be able to stay together and then hopefully get out and make money?
With this virus kicking everyone behind as hard as it is, I imagine some bands might crumble. I just really hope, I have enough faith in the band to kind of more or less know that we're not going to break up because the music means so much to us. But I can't speak for every band on the planet. There might be some bands who are doing this for the revenue for it. And I wouldn't blame them, and I certainly wouldn't put it past them if they were to happen to break up over this. I can safely say that we're not going to be one of them, but I can't speak for every band. So I wish every band out there the best in dealing with this crisis.
Let me follow up with that, too. And have you guys thought, and either one of you can jump in on this, have you guys thought once we get past the hump, once we get to the other side, have you guys thought what it's going to be like when it comes to going to a show?
Oh, I'm excited for that. Here, Caelen, why don't you answer first?
Well, no, it is interesting because, the past week or so, I've sat around thinking, what are shows going to be like? You basically have two avenues. You can have it where people are going to, be afraid to go out to a show. They're going to be, afraid for, an extended period of time because, as far as we know, this isn't going to just end overnight. Come April 30th, this isn't going to go away. So we have to prepare for that. But also you have the opposite side of things where I think people are going to be so cooped up, they're going to be ready to go out. So once they start feeling that it's safe again, I think there's a big potential for people to really come out in droves, to see a show because they're going to want to get out. They're going to want to do something. And I think live music could be an excellent, avenue for people to come out and, become social again, obviously staying safe, but, to get out of isolation, to feel like, they're human and, part of the world again.
I agree 100%. I may be projecting here, but I know for a fact that isolation causes a desire to break out. When you're, and we talk about this a couple of times in our music, when you're stuck, cooped up in a place where you don't want to be, you're going to have this feeling of, let me out, unleash me, let me go do something to let out all this potential energy I've been cooped up and building up for the past however many weeks or however long a period of time it's been happening. And I feel like once this whole thing is over, which I don't know when it will be, but hopefully once it's over, we have such a strong connection with our fans. I imagine that the first show that we announce, no matter where it is, people will hopefully be lining up. I don't want to project. I don't want to get my hopes up, but I really hope that that's going to be the case because I feel like our fans feel the same way that we do. And I certainly can speak for all of us and say, once this thing ends, we are going to be ready, and we're going to put out one of the best shows we've ever done in our whole life, man. I'm making that promise live now on air.
That's awesome. I'm kind of curious. Is this maybe the shot in the arm that rock live music needs, actually? I know it sounds weird, but, maybe this is what's actually going to get people out to these shows. Because, there's a lot of shows that happen, and, the big shows, they get their big amount of people that'll show up in, arenas and that. But when you get a smaller show and you're trying to fill a club of maybe 300 and you only get 100 people there, you're like, that's great. We love playing in front of 100, but boy, we should have had 300 here. Will this maybe be the shot in the arm that the music industry needs to go to live shows again?
No, I think so. I think just in life in general, we've gotten used to living a certain way, and now that we are being told that we can't necessarily do what we've been doing, I think this is an opportunity for absolutely a shot in the arm to get people to coming out to shows. I mean, it's interesting because you always hear that the industry is dying and the local scene is dying, and that's not always the case. I mean, have shows taken a fall back in terms of people coming out to them? Sure. But, people are still coming out to shows. And, I feel like absolutely out of all of this, you're going to see a jump in people really wanting to come out. But also you have the opposite side of it where a lot of bands are doing live streaming now. Is that going to become more prevalent? So, I mean, there's multiple avenues that can be taken. But, the part of me wants to believe that this is definitely the shot in the arm that, music needs right now.
Well, maybe
when going to get people coming out.
What I mean maybe about it too is, I think a lot of people are just, there's a show going to happen, so I'm not going to go to this one. But it's, there's always the guarantee of the next show. Well, we're not guaranteed the next show, what's going on right now. So maybe this will make people go, yeah, I'm going to buy that ticket and go to that show because I don't know what's going to happen in 3 months from now.
Well, I can say that that's how I'm going to be for sure. Like, there's a couple of bands that I've wanted to see once the summer came around, and now that this whole virus has been going around, I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to. So, my plans kind of got snipped to the wayside. So now I'm kind of thinking that if this virus clears up, I'm definitely going to go out and see the bands that I want to see, assuming it doesn't conflict with any shows that we should get or have to play. But I will say that throughout all of history, there's always been a progression directly after a recession. I mean, if you look at the Great Depression and then the decades that followed after that, like there's been a huge surge in just people and community ever since that whole thing happened. I feel like, I hear what you're saying, that, this might actually be the shot in the arm that could get people to start coming out to rock shows again. Like, this band's coming through town. I'm not really sure if I want to see them. I'll see them next time, but there might not be a next time. So I agree with you on that. I think there's more of a chance of that happening than anything else.
Hey, we're talking with Caelen and Jack, the band Ignite the Fire. I want to get to the band here in just a moment, but, we've been talking about the COVID-19 virus, and, bands have had to be creative. And the one thing that I've always said to bands, especially we're in a small town here, so it's tough to, we can't bring Metallica and big bands here. But the one thing that we can do is bring some of these maybe middle bands, let's just say, and they don't do a full show, but they'll do an acoustic show. We're really seeing that now with the COVID-19 pandemic happening, that everybody's doing acoustic shows via social media. Do you think we'll see more acoustic shows in the future now once we get back to live music?
That's very interesting. Us as a band, we find that our music translates very well to acoustic. In terms of, I think, if anything, I think that's where your live streaming market's going to be. I think you're going to see a lot of bands going acoustic, via live stream, doing live stream acoustic shows. In terms of actual shows, it's going to be interesting to see if that comes to fruition. I mean, in one way, if you're doing an acoustic live stream, people might become used to that and they want to see you do that. I mean, there's plenty of big bands that have done, acoustic tours. I mean, you got Shinedown who did one. I've done a few. You have Seven Dust who have certainly done acoustic. I don't know. I think, that's an interesting point to bring up. Certainly I think we've tossed around the idea of doing acoustic. I mean, we've done acoustic shows before. And if the music translates well into it, then I say certainly the bands. I mean, that's another way of bands really getting out and, showing off something different. And I think especially with COVID-19, if I can just kind of segue off of that, I think, we're talking about it being a kick in the arm or a kick to get fans to come out, is this isolationism. But I also see this as a chance for bands to really kind of make the show worthwhile. it's an opportunity for bands to say, okay, we're just going out there playing music, but how can we make this worthwhile to our fans to really put on a show for them to make them want to come to our show?
Right.
And maybe an acoustic avenue is absolutely something that they could, keep in mind.
Well, I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm curious to see. I'm hoping that people, like you guys are saying, well, they're going to just come out in groves and that. But there's the other side of it too, where people are like, I don't know if I want to come out in groves. So then, what are bands going to do? Are they going to be able to fill stadiums anymore? Will we start seeing more of those bigger bands go back to kind of the grassroots, to go to smaller communities, and to get their name out there again, kind of thing? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of up in the air, guys, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely is. I mean, there are so many potentials that can come out of this. It really depends upon, how we as a music community, but also just us as humans, really kind of embrace what happens after all of this. And I think it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to watch, and it's going to be fascinating to see how bands really adapt to it, how the music industry adapts to it.
Let's talk about you guys, Ignite the Fire. Last time we talked was about 3 years ago. I know you put out an EP called Between Shadow and Solace. How did that one go, and what's the future plans for you guys? What's going on now?
So, I mean, Between Shadow and Solace was really, I would say that really helped push our career further along. We had one of the biggest releases that we've had off of that with Echoes, and Echoes has done so tremendously well for us. It's garnered us a larger fan base, getting more people excited for our music. That whole EP as a whole was really us maturing, and us moving forward, especially what we're doing in the studio now. I mean, with our next release, that's going to be even a step up from what we did with Between Shadow and Solace. And we're really excited to show people that, if you enjoyed Echoes, if you enjoyed the EP Between Shadow and Solace, we really think you're going to enjoy where we're going next.
Jack, you guys looking at doing another EP? Are you doing a full album? What's, I guess, the next step for Ignite the Fire?
Just take everything that we've done before and then do it better.
Sounds good. That's simple, huh? That was the short answer, huh?
Well, I mean, I could go more into detail. We basically, the theme of this album that I think coming up, and something that the theme of this album to me personally, each one of the members of the band has something that they bring to the album or something that they take away from it. But for me, my biggest takeaway from this upcoming album is this feeling of vulnerability. These last two albums, I feel like we're very much presenting things that you've already been through, or something like advice for how to get through something in the future from somebody who has gone through that. With this upcoming album, I feel like there's a lot of vulnerability in the sense of not really knowing what to do. Like when you have like a relapse into those feelings that really hurt, that really tear at you, that make you not want to go through the day, like not feel okay, you don't really know what to do. And I think that's what this album's really going to be about. At least that's my perspective on it. I'm sure that the fans will take away something different, but that's just what I take away from it, from the general feel of the album.
What about you, Caelen? What's I guess your feel of it?
I mean, no, Jack, absolutely. That it hits the nail on the head. I mean, what's interesting is, we've been writing this CD for, I guess the past year, maybe 2 years. I mean, we literally started writing as we were finishing up Between Shadow and Solace. Between Shadow and Solace, it was very thematic, and this one's very thematic as well. And what's interesting is that, we weren't anticipating something like COVID-19 or a pandemic sweeping across the world, and this album is going to basically take a lot of emotion from that, completely not on purpose. So it's going to be interesting because I think people are going to really resonate with it in terms of what we're experiencing now as a world, as a community.
It's almost like the universe. Right? I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead. Didn't mean to do that.
You're the lead singer, so you always interrupt, right?
Well, no, you can interrupt me.
Well, I've got a voice and I like to use it, but Caelen was saying something very profound, and I didn't. It's hard to hear on the other line when a sentence begins and when it ends. I also don't really have a whole lot of signal in my basement, so I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Jack.
all good.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay. What I was going to say was, like, I was going to add to what Caelen was saying was that it was almost like with this COVID-19 virus, it's almost like the universe gave us a whole new way of looking at this album theme. So it's almost like, the universe is looking out for you, buddy. Good work. Good on you. Like, I don't mean to make light of a terrible situation, but I've always been known for being sort of an optimist. So that's just the way I look at it.
No, absolutely, and because obviously COVID is causing devastation across the world, but in a way, looking at what we're doing and what we've always done as a band, we've always been a band that is inspirational for people. We want to uplift people. We want to let people know that whatever you're going through, it's going to be okay. And we feel now more than ever with this album that we're going to be putting out that this could help a lot of people, and that's our goal as a band. That's what we want to do through our music.
I know all your fans right now are probably, okay, I hear there's going to be a new album. And, the number one question I know they're going to ask is, when is that album coming out? Do you have any inkling on when you might release this?
Before all of this went down, before the virus, COVID-19, we were really aiming for, early summer. And now that everything's been put on a halt, it's really hard to say. I mean, I'll bring it down to where exactly we were in the studio. We had four songs left to do on vocals, and then it would go into the mixing and mastering phase. So we were almost there. So in terms of a release, it's really going to depend when we can get back in the studio. But as soon as we're back in the studio, we're finishing up those songs, and they're going to be ready for release. So, optimistically, I'd love to say late summer, early fall.
Right.
But anything's possible. But I definitely know it's going to be worth the wait.
It's so weird because, I've been doing this for 10 years, at least the show. And when I look at the ad list of songs, there's normally a huge list, especially this time of year. There's barely anything on these ad lists right now. So everybody is being either they just don't want to put anything out new, or they're being strategic about it. I guess it's just weird how it is right now. Just on a radio programmer side of things, it's just different. And so, and you guys are kind of in that same boat. You can't put anything out because you haven't got yourself together to put it out yet. Let's talk about I guess touring in that. It's going to happen at some point, and you guys are going to get it back out there in that. Have you guys have some ideas on where you'd like to go on the touring? Maybe some bands you'd like to go with? Is there talks of that going on right now?
So if I can interject real quick, I don't mean to interrupt Caelen, but if I can interject, I was really excited before this virus hit that we were going to go to Wisconsin. We were going to go all the way out to cheese country, and we missed that because all our tours got canceled because of this virus, and I'm so upset. I'm so mad about that. So that's one of the places I really want to go.
I tell you what, we're in Minnesota. We're in Minnesota, okay? But Wisconsin, they know how to party and have fun there. I've gone to many shows there, and that's a good place to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
No, we were absolutely excited. We had a bunch of shows that were in the works, and they were stretching from mid-March, all the way. We had shows stretching all the way through May, and we were, announcing them slowly. And then all of a sudden this goes down, and we're like, okay, we got to postpone this one. We got to postpone this one. And as it goes month to month, we're having to keep postponing. And it's like, we're so excited to get back out and playing. But, there was so much we were ready to announce, and now we have to wait. But I think that just builds up anticipation. And if anything, that just means that, hey, we're going to be announcing a lot of shows in, a small span of time. So if anything, that's that's going to be a good thing. That's getting us out there. But definitely a tour is coming. We got a lot of exciting stuff in the works. Once this new CD is done and out, we're gonna push this thing hard. And we hope that FM 94 plays us. I hope that you play us on the dark. With the new CD coming out, and we're gonna try to get out that way, and we're gonna really sweep across the country if we can with this new release. Depending upon, what happens with this virus. But we're excited. We keep postponing, and we're like, okay, now we're leading up to something. We're ready for this to be over with. We're ready to get back out on the road. We're ready to promote music. It's all just timing at this point.
All right, so your fans right now are screaming. What can you give us any little hint on what you're gonna do? I'm sure they're screaming. Is there any bands that you guys have been talking to that might put something together? Or is it just you can't say anything?
I mean, right now, it's a lot of hush-hush on things. We're going to definitely be hitting places that we've never hit up before, getting out to places that we've had fans say, hey, why don't you ever come to us? So this is an opportunity for us to sit down and say, all right, you know what? Let's see if we can figure out a way to get to them. There's going to be a lot of big events coming up that, we might be a part of, and we're very much looking forward to that. But, in terms of announcing anything, we can't say anything and lay it in stone yet. But
all right,
it's coming.
That's all right. I tried, fans. I tried, okay? That's my job, right? Gotta
I
ask
really wish it didn't have to be so hush-hush. It's just because of the virus going around, we really have no idea because our revenue, our plans are really based on collaboration. You have to collaborate with the venue, with other bands in order to make a show happen. And if you don't have that collaboration, because every band and every venue is going to be handling this thing differently, you really can't say for sure what is going to happen. I can tell you, at least concretely from us, is that we're basically working around the clock to make sure that our fans know for a fact that we're still here and we're still going to be here when this thing all blows over. All they have to do is just, if I can parrot off of one of our lyrics, just stay alive and just breathe.
Yes, absolutely, Jack. All right, Jack, Caelen, I know we've run out of time here. It's been a lot of fun chatting, but got to do the usual housework things here. If people want more information about the band Ignite the Fire, how can they get that?
Sure. So we have a website, ignitethefiremusic.com. We're on all forms of social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all different ways of checking us out. Our music is on Spotify, on iTunes, and of course we have an online merch store. I mean, during this tough time, if fans want to help support us, they can head over to our merch store, and we have the hoodies. We have hoodies for sale. We have shirts for sale. Inventory's a little short on those things, and keep streaming us on all forms of streaming services. Keep listening to us on the radio. There's plenty of ways to catch our music and to see what we're up to, and we're so excited for once this virus is over, getting back out there, doing what we love to do, and interacting with our fans, because our fans help us keep going. So we're really excited about what's to come. We just got to get over the hump.
Go ahead. Sorry. Sorry, were you finished, or did I interrupt? I'm sorry. I was going to say, in addition to checking out all of our social media accounts like Facebook and whatnot, definitely check us out on our personal pages. Like, each of us have a personal Instagram, a personal Facebook, and everything like that. And while we can't really do anything concretely with the band, we're still trying to make posts to keep everyone entertained and remind everybody that we're still there. So yeah, if you ever want to some Ignite the Fire themed entertainment that isn't quite fully the band, definitely check us out on there. Our names, hopefully. Check us out there. Look for us. We're always willing to engage with everybody during this terrible thing. We may not be able to get together in the same room, but we would at least like to keep some kind of social connection over media if we can.
All right, Jack, thanks so much. Caelen, thanks so much. We did this, 3 years ago? We got to do this a lot quicker. Better yet, why don't you guys come to Minnesota once this pandemic's all over and you can rock out with us? Sound good?
Let's do it.
That's the promise. We will make it happen, and thank you so much for playing our music on The Dark on FM 94.
All right, once again, Caelen, Jack, stay safe. We'll talk to you guys soon. That is the band Ignite the Fire. They were talking about their song that really blew up last year, Echoes. Here it is right now. It's on The Dark. It's on FM 94.